Gentlemen, as always, we begin with a quick fire round. 30 seconds each to lay out your initial stance on the matter, and we take the conversation from there. So, Captain Tabak, please take the lead. Do we need to restart START?
Well, if we're going to do it, we should do it right. And the easiest thing to do is to do what President Obama did with Iran. You know, sign a treaty where Iran inspects itself. And you see where that led. At this point, we're having a problem with Iran. So if we're going to do it this time around, it's got to be done right, and it's not easy. And a little correction: I'm not a chief of staff of NATO. I was not chief. I was chief of staff for a representation of NATO in Moscow. It's a little smaller.
All right.
But thank you for promotion.
Yeah. Well, it's on the house. I'm great at butchering both names and titles. This is an expertise I maintain. And on the same topic...
Shall that be the biggest problem? Yeah.
Dr. and please take, the platform is yours. Your 30 seconds are on, Doctor.
Thank you. I think that this is a time to really think the situation, because we are now in 2026 and not 2010 when this agreement was concluded. So this is a tremendous opportunity to make a long-term solution. I think, yeah, it may have some risks, but China needs to be part of the deal.
All right, last but not least, Mr. Schulman, your thoughts.
Look, we clearly need a new agreement. Meantime, we should keep the current agreement as long as we possibly can, because there's no reason for people to suddenly break out from that agreement. I think it can be negotiated. Of course, I'm not sure the current Trump administration is capable of doing it while it's doing so many other things simultaneously, since it only has one negotiator for the whole world. But I think it's a very important treaty, and it lowered the temperature just a little bit in the world, and we don't need to raise it if we don't have to.
All right, gentlemen, let's please feel free to interact from this point onwards. And I do want to begin perhaps with Captain Tabak point with you, Mr. Schulman, because the question we might pose here is the U.S. better off without the agreement? It removes outdated 2010 caps when facing Russia and China together. So maybe it is a paradox of sort, but no treaty means more peace.
No, absolutely not. More treaty just means more nuclear warheads, spending more money on warheads that you don't need. How many times do we have to destroy the Earth? How many nuclear warheads do we need in order to do that? That's just an absurd statement that people make. Like, we need more? No. We may need better weapons. We may need more updated weapons. We don't need more weapons at all. We have enough weapons. We may need to work to get the Chinese to limit themselves. Yes, they may have to come up to what they have currently, but there needs to be some sort of limit that's placed on the Chinese. And, of course, we have to worry about proliferation at the moment, because at the moment, one of the biggest problems we have is that most of the world no longer trusts the American nuclear umbrella. So now we're going to have situations with Japan, South Korea, Finland, who knows who may start developing nuclear weapons, which is even worse. A world full of nuclear weapons. If Iran gets it, then so will Saudi Arabia. This becomes an incredibly dangerous world. It was dangerous enough beforehand. It's going to get even more dangerous unless we put bring an end to this somehow.
Dr. Ainonen, your thoughts?
Thank you. Yeah. I think that we are in a threshold in the way that we have to decide. I don't think anyone really wants more nuclear weapons, but some of the countries need to upgrade their current deterrence. And this is very much to do with the US, because we provide an umbrella for some of our friendly nations. So if they start, as the previous speaker said, having not trusting our deterrence, they will go on their own. And I can't blame them under current circumstances.
So, Captain Tabak, without limits, who can really stop the arms race? Or is it an illusion that we're able to begin with?
Well, I think it's oversimplified. And like Dr. Ali said, it needs to be modernized. We don't know how modern the Russian nuclear facilities are, or Iranian were, or the Chinese at this point. But saying that you don't trust the American nuclear umbrella anymore. Well, get your own, really. Why do you always have to trust America and depend on us? But, oh, yeah, you don't have one because you really never invested in it and always depended on the United States. But it's not as simple as that, because there are things that are involved, like under President Obama, when the Secretary of State was Madame Clinton, we sold our enriched uranium facilities, and now President Trump is saying we have to rebuild. And now we're opening up 2 more enriched uranium facilities so we can do it and don't depend on the Russian uranium any longer. And this plays into the wars that are going now in Iran and in Ukraine, things like that. And also, look, Russian Federation at this point has 1,550 warheads and about 700 delivery systems, which is also very important, and about 100 in reserve. Between Great Britain and France, there are only 500. And this is a race. But I think that President Trump has a vision way further than many people's knows, and by 2028, by the time his presidency is over, we should have a golden dome. This is what we're budgeted for, to create the golden dome, which also will replace the need for that nuclear umbrella, which Europeans don't trust Americans with.
Look, I was around for
So
SDI.
I
was involved in the arguments with SDI.
So invest in our Golden Dome.
Listen, the Golden Dome is a very nice idea, and maybe it'll be ready by 2050, maybe 2035. I mean, if you think the American defense manufacturing is capable of developing and deploying Golden Dome in the next 3 years, I don't know which world you're living in. It's not going to happen. It may eventually happen. It's not a terrible idea. I thought SDI was a good idea.
I'm not an Nostradamus. I'm saying to you that we have been budgeted for it. But
budget is very nice. You can budget whatever you want.
But it is very nice. Listen, please don't talk to me like this. You can say whatever you want to as well, and I do too. So
of
please.
Course, this is what we're here for.
And I'm not a Nostradamus. I'm not predicting. I'm stating a fact. That is.
What is what? That it's budgeted?
Our Congress, please. Our budget, our Congress has voted on it. We are planning to do a Golden Dome 2028. Please tell me, what is Europe planning to do, or is it not planning to participate in those negotiations and in those treaties? And I was an inspector with Defense Threat Reduction Agency. I have inspected the facilities in Russia, in Ukraine. So we're not going to be measuring who is more qualified here to be on this program.
All
please.
Right. No. We asked all of you gentlemen, distinguished gentlemen, to participate because it is important for us to hear all the different opinions. Mr. Schulman, please.
Look, there are 2 questions. Number one, budgeting, of course, does not mean you're actually going to deploy. Deploying it's a great idea. The Golden Dome is a wonderful idea. But we don't even know what technology is ultimately going to be used in Golden Dome. Is it going to be kinetic? Is it going to be laser? What it's going to be? Whatever it's going to be, it's going to take time to develop, and it's certainly going to take even longer to deploy. We're talking about something that's going to be out there in 5, 10 years at the best case scenario, and that's if Congress continues to fund it after Trump is no longer in office. Number 2, the United States entered into a deal with Europe and the rest of the world, basically, at the end of World War II. It would be the major defender of the world, or the free world. In return, Pax America would exist, and America would have an outside influence on the world in so many different ways. The current administration wants to pull back from that, which is their right, and it's fine. But I don't think it's good for the world. I don't think it's good for the world to have more nuclear proliferation, to have more countries build more nuclear weapons, to leave more chances for mistakes, for more chances for rogue actors to suddenly fire a nuke by mistake, all sorts of different scenarios. So we have to hope for the best. I think we can get a new arms deal if it's negotiated properly.
Dr. Inonen, your thoughts, please.
Thank you. Golden Dome may be there, may be not there. We don't know when it is. But one should not put all the eggs on one basket. One has to take a broader look. And we see the developments over there. We saw what happened in June between Iran, Israel, and US. These systems are not perfect. Things get through. And what I'm worried that this actually could prompt another expansion in nuclear development, like starting to use outer space to compensate deficiencies inside the space.
All right.
I can say that, criticizing the United States and President Trump is the easiest and the most fashionable thing to do nowadays. But what I'm saying is we are trying to do something. We are trying to negotiate. The logic is that you don't trust our nuclear umbrella, but you trust to negotiate with the Russians and the Chinese, and just because they're going to sign a piece of paper, they're going to stick to it. So this logic does not work. But we are trying to do something. What is Europe trying to do something? Why does Europe always looks at it and says, what's Trump going to do about it? What about Europe? What has Europe done to assist us with the Golden Dome or not Golden Dome to say it's not going to work? It's the easiest thing.
Europe does not have the technology.
Tell us. Okay,
it does not have the technology. It doesn't have the missile technology.
Then should help us.
It doesn't have the missile technology. Only Israel has the technology. Europe is buying missile technology from Israel. What do you expect Europe to do in terms of Golden Dome? It can help pay for it, maybe.
Not to criticize what we're doing. Everything that Trump does is right away criticized.
This was not about criticizing Trump.
What is Europe going to do? Oh, we don't have it. We're not prepared. We don't have it. You take care of us. No, get up. You're a growing economy. You're bigger than the United States. Your GDP is bigger than the United States. So do something. Help us then to build that Golden Dome, to be in 2028, to have something that will protect Europe and Greenland and Canada and all other things. We're not supposed to be your babysitters from
what
starting
lines
World
are you
War
using? That's not, no one's saying that Europe should be talking in that sort of way. The Europeans right now are stepping up in terms of Ukraine, spending much more money than the United States. America, the only one spending money right now in Ukraine is the Europeans. The Europeans are buying buying equipment from the United States. The Europeans don't have the industrial base in the armament industries to do much of what you're talking about. They're developing it, but it takes many years to do that. The same way the United States doesn't have the arms industry at the moment. The United States can't. How many interceptors can the United States produce a year? It's a ridiculously small number.
Dr. Heinonen, please chime in as well.
Yes, thank you. Interesting discussion, but I would say that now is time for the cool thinking, risk assessment, which are the choices ahead, which are the goals each party want to have. Yes, I agree fully. Europe has to pay its fair expense to this, as some countries in the Far East, like Japan or South Korea. That's where we are, and I hope that U.S. government can get these people together around the same table, particularly with the Russians and Chinese.
Dr. Heinonen, and I'm not asking the following question lightly, but the nuclear taboo held for 80 years, mad war with two superpowers. Maybe the time has changed and we need to rethink this entire deterrence mechanism. And what does it mean if we're even allowing this rethinking to take place? Maybe it's too dangerous to begin with.
I think it's a fresh thinking. Just look at the facts. Not.
Oh, we're having some technical trouble hearing you properly, Dr. Heinonen. We will fix the connection and we'll get back to you. But to that point, exactly, Captain Tabach, maybe again, and here you might have disclosed your input here. Maybe we will try to get back to you, Dr. Heinonen. We would like to hear your take. Yeah, I guess that the connection is somewhat tricky. So, Captain Tabach, your thoughts.
Well, my thoughts is, I'm not sure what the question is, but I think that.
But please do share your thoughts with us.
I think that's saying that. We don't know what if the Congress is going to finance the Golden Dome after President Trump is gone. That doesn't work in the United States like this. Our Congress does not depend on one president or another. It's an independent body that functions. And so if there are people in Congress that think that we're going to need the Golden Dome, they will finance it regardless who the president is.
Yeah, but
president does have influence on it, but you can't depend on us. Again, this is European mentality. They think that President Trump is king or a czar for this period of time. He's not. He's not God. He's not czar. He's not the king. Right. He is the one, nor is he prime minister. He's the president. He has to deal with the Congress, which in November could change very well.
All right, we will. Third time's a charm. We will try yet again, Dr. Heinonen. Your take is important for us. Your insight is important for us. So again, maybe the MAD principle, the nuclear taboo. It's time to rethink it.
I think that the Golden Dome should in the first place on the table, because it will put the other ones to think that is it really worth this development which we have? Can we spend our monies other ways? Can we provide our security and defense to our own countries without in the circumstances when you have that golden dome? So this is why I stop and think these people to some nice place and share the views. That's the way to go.
Mr. Schulman, please.
Look, I mean, things are changing. Let's start with the fact that Golden Dome is President Trump's baby. The Congress would never have passed it without President Trump pushing it. And when the Congress changes, who knows what's going to be. I happen to support the general idea of Golden Dome the same way I supported the Arrow in Israel's defensive systems. But I don't believe it's a panacea. And I also think it's going to take a long time. I think we need, until then, to decrease as much as we can the nuclear arms race. There's no reason for it. It gains nothing for anybody, just gains things from spending more and more money on nuclear weapons, which we hopefully will never use. Just think of how much money has been spent in the last 70 years on nuclear weapons that have all been sitting in the ground, thankfully. I mean, the last thing we want to do is use nuclear weapons. And as to the question, I think so far, I mean, yes, it worked between the United States and the Soviet Union, mutually assured destruction, MAD. It's also worked in other ways as well. I mean, with England, with France. Now, will it work, God forbid, if both Iran gets nuclear weapons and Israel?
And
those are really questionable things. Are all actors rational? So far, the Pakistanis have been rational. We were worried about that, but so far they've been rational actors.
All right, so these
so
are
the Indians. So these are questions.
the questions we'll be asking ourselves right after the break. It definitely seems the world has gone mad.
Well, look, I mean,
yeah, we're taking a very short break, but when we get back, we address the elephant in the room, or rather in the region, Iran, of course. So a quick break, and we'll be right back with you gentlemen and our nuclear summit. All right, let's get to it. Another quick fire round, 30 seconds each to let your initial thoughts on the matter, and we pick it up from there. Dr. Heinonen, please take the lead. Double standard, or is there a reason Israel is a bit different when we're talking nuclear?
Iranian nuclear program is a matter of concern, but we need to look at it in several dimensions. First is that it's not only nuclear weapons per se, but also delivery vehicles like missiles. You cannot detach them from each other, in particular because Iran has not a very forceful air force. That's one thing. Then is the consequences to Middle East. Some countries are thinking about building latent capabilities. And then the last thing, also in Far East, in South Korea and elsewhere,
Right.
Iran plays to this scheme.
Mr. Schulman, your thoughts?
Very simply, Iran is the only country that has said it wants to destroy another country. Therefore, for them to have nuclear weapons is not appropriate. Israel has never said it wanted to destroy any country in the world whatsoever. Iran is the one who keeps on saying it wants to eliminate Israel. So I don't think it's even fair to begin to compare the two situations. Theoretically, Israel's had nuclear weapons for many, many years at this point. Never once has it used it. Never once has it threatened to use it. It's just there as a doomsday in the worst case scenario to make sure the Jewish state remains.
Captain Dabach, your take.
Well, I'm a military man. I really don't care what Iran has to say. And Israelis, well, the Israelis, everybody has a special setup. Everybody is in a different situation. And Israel is surrounded by enemies. It's a small state, which is very surprising that Europe, as larger than the United States GDP, depends on Israel provide the military technology for it. I mean, look at that microscopic country in Europe. And yet Europe's still developing and all those thing that it's doing, but buying supposedly weapons for Ukraine, that is hardly enough after 4 years of it.
So to that point, and gentlemen, let's please feel free to engage in the conversation again. In the current state of affairs, Captain Tabach, allies, American allies feel they have no choice but to go nuclear. So is Trump's, let's call it unpredictability, whether you like it or not, is driving proliferation or exposing that extended deterrence was always unsustainable to an extent?
I really didn't understand what you asked me. I'm sorry.
Let me try to rephrase. Is Trump's current policy driving American allies to develop their own nuclear power?
I think his policies for European allies and for other Israelis are more of a partners than allies, but allies they should do their part and participate in it. And again, I started this conversation. I brought the Golden Dome.
Yeah.
Because it's part of it. It doesn't mean that Golden Dome is going to replace nuclear weapons, although nuclear weapons is probably, last century weapons. There's going to be modernized things, the more modern things that are maybe even more dangerous. We just lived through the biological disaster in the whole world, and whether it really was disaster or not, still we don't know. So there are other weapons and things that are more modern and more usable. But Golden Dome, I just want to underline, that is not an offensive weapon. It's not even a retaliatory. It's a defensive weapon. So it's not going to replace nuclear weapons. It's not going to replace offensive weapons. And this is why, and to say that it is President Trump's idea or President Trump's baby, it's not true. Just like let's say, "Make America Great" is not President Trump. It is a legacy of It is a legacy of President Reagan, and it was President Reagan who started Star Wars, and President Trump is just continuing on it.
All right, Dr. Einonen, so if the U.S. extended deterrence somewhat fails, let it be when we're talking about Japan, South Korea, Saudi considering a nukes, does the Israel model perhaps becomes the template for everyone else?
Well, it's not for me to judge it, but each country is in charge of its own security and the leadership, and they should use all the means they need to defend their nation. That's the only thing I can say to that. But a small remark to this Golden Dome still. Yeah. There are other weapons which have been developed which the Golden Dome doesn't address. Poseidon, perhaps even Buretsnik. So it's not over with the Golden Dome when we think about the security of a state. You can bring a submarine next to Cuba, and there's a bit history there. So I think that one has to really think how to approach this whole big picture. And I hope that after all these talks, the U.S. government finds the right course to proceed, as Winston Churchill at one point in time put out.
Mr. Schulman, please.
I go back to your question, first of all. The answer is yes. President Trump's erratic
behavior. Someone understands my question.
President Trump's erratic behavior towards the rest of the world has made much of the world fear that they cannot depend on the United States. The rise of MAGA and the attitude of it towards the world has made the people feel like even if when Trump is gone, they still will not be able to rely on the United States the same way they did until now. The deal that was made at the end of the World War II may be over, and that will lead to other countries developing nuclear weapons, which I don't think is good for the world. Now, Golden Dome does not help Europe. Maybe the arrows that Germany is buying from Israel, that may help Germany protect itself from a nuclear attack from Soviet Union or somewhere else, but Golden Dome covers the United States. Why should Europe be involved in covering the United States in developing a system? They need to develop a system for themselves. So the reality is the world is a less safe place these days. The unpredictability, the fact that you can't rely on allies will make it much, much more difficult to maintain peace in the world. And that's what worries me. America is losing its influence in the world the same way that because Trump is so strong in some ways and unpredictable, he has an over effect in some ways. But in terms of the long term, America is losing its soft power. And much of America's success in the last 70 years has been its soft power and not its hard power.
All right, Captain Tabak, final remarks?
Well,
please.
That's the whole thing. The President Trump and MAGA and their unpredictability and all those things, and this is fear. We're so scared in Europe of it. What's so unpredictable about President Trump? So far, everything he promised in his election campaign, he has delivered, except ending the war in Ukraine. And again, thanks to Europe and not helping it at all.
Oh,
so
what is
it that is not? Listen, you want to discuss how bad Putin is? Go ahead, tell us how bad of this. It's a typical European thing. Interrupt, and they say, well, that's Putin's. It's a Putin's fault. It's a Putin's fault. Yeah, we all know that Putin is a bad guy. But
Well, Captain Tabuk, maybe it's not being said as an insult. Maybe the unpredictable feature here is that the politician is actually following up on his promises.
Right.
Maybe it's a compliment.
Exactly. This is what unpredictable about him, that he's not about. So, the thing is that and again, it's a European approach. This is what upsets, I think, most of the Americans. We have placed anti-missile defenses, our anti-missile defenses in Poland and in Romania, which really made a very difficult situation between us and Russia, because they didn't want that. And we kept saying it's only defense. So why should we, using
because they're part of NATO. What do you mean why?
Are we, United States, not part of NATO?
That's right. That's why they deployed the missile systems.
Why should we? Right. And you're saying, why should we be involved in the Golden Dome? That protects only the America. America is not part of the NATO, according to you? It's a solid logic. We should protect you, but you should do absolutely nothing to help us to protect us, because we're different, right? Israel and Israel falls under the same thing. We can do anything for everybody's allowed to do, but Israel cannot. So we should protect Europe, because it is NATO, but Europe should not help us with gold. No, because it only protects us.
Afghanistan, I guess. Absolutely.
Dr. Inonen, please, your final remarks. Dr. Inonen, please.
Solid European.
I think that, in my view, Europe should come out from its shell and carry responsibilities. So, old, ancient European, I think that way, and it's time for the Europe to wake up.
All right, mad about the bomb. That's for certain. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for powering through with us tonight. It was a pleasure listening to you. Thank you very much for your time and insight. Thank you.